All right, we're live. Well, I'm still finishing getting set up here. I left for the gym later than I should have. But because I'm not teaching anyone today, I took my sweet ass time. Lord Potato is on today. I thought Lord Potato couldn't attend. All right. Sorry about the crappy start, but there's like nobody here anyway, so I guess it's not a huge deal. Fuck. Knocking things over. And I got the wrong guitar plugged in. Awesome start. Hey, what are we doing today? To my 2 viewers who are currently here, we're doing what I have been doing. We're going to watch some videos from other instructors, see what we can learn, see what I can add, and answer comments and questions. All right, so here we are. Okay, so let's see what we should watch today. Potato's only here for a bit. Children are doing an art project. What kind of art project? Does it involve macaroni? Oh, goodness. Okay. So let's change to this. All right, this is what we got here. Coloring a bunny. It's like rather far from Easter. Why a bunny? All right. I'm not sure which one we should watch first. Some of these I'm just like, eh. Could just go with a bunch of burnt ones. But let's just go from the top here. And if I'm not feeling it, we'll just skip it like I did last time. So let's check out this Stitch Method Guitar one. I'm hesitant to do this one because the last video I watched from him was like I had nothing to add. Everything was well done, well spoken. I was just like, cool. So, number 1 recommendation for amazing guitar solos, and it works every time. So, it's him saying it works every time.
Question I get all the time.
Oh man, that started off quick. All right, time for me to change my headphone or put my headphones on, so we can get some decent audio, somewhat decent audio. It's keeping them busy. Well, why don't they do something more topical? Like dystopian, zodiac-based religions. And then you can promote with it. All right, so here's what we're going to watch first. So, in case this actually gets edited down into a used video. This is the first time I'm watching it. Let's just change back to this. This is the first time I'm watching this video. Anytime I do one of these reaction things, it is not with the intent to bring anyone down, but to try and learn some stuff, see what I can add to it, if anything at all. And if I do disagree with anything, I will explain why. So, Stitch Method Guitar is the name of the channel, and this is titled the number 1 recommendation for amazing guitar solos, and it works every time. Now, I'm skeptical of the every time thing because I automatically start thinking, okay, so does that mean it will work for death metal songs, grindcore, things like that? I don't know. Let's find out. Well, there are children in your books, right? That could be relatable. All right, here we go. Let's make sure I actually have the correct desktop audio selected this time. That is not what I want. Properties, default. Advanced properties. All right, audio interface. No, desktop audio coming through number 1. So this should be heard. Here we go.
Is how do some great question I get all the time is how do some great improvisational guitar players improvise gorgeous melodies and intertwine the vocal melody of the song live in concert? It's actually an easy task to do, and we're going to discuss how it's done, but we're also going to show you how to kind of do some variations of it and how this kind of thought process can really make your solos shine. So we're going to get right down to
So sounds like he's saying the question is how do guitar players take a vocal melody of a song and put that into their guitar solo. Well, I suppose you'd have to know what the heck the notes are first, or be able to figure it out. And as far as it working every time, like, well, yeah, it certainly wouldn't work with death metal or black metal or grindcore or anything like that, because there's no freaking melody in those singing, or in those lyrics. No, I don't know what happens to them in the book, but I know it's not nice. It could be like the old school fairy tales, though, where they learn very harsh lessons. Obviously, all this part should be edited out of the final video.
To it. The song that we're going to use today is going to be Knocking on Heaven's Door. The reason being is that there are so many different versions of guitar players playing the song. I'm sure you have your own version. Everyone kind of knows the melody. It's a simple melody, and I'll show you how you can expand on it. Once you have this down, you'll be able to do it to any song you wish. All right, so let's look at Knocking on Heaven's Door. And how do we solo, improvise, sound great, sound cool, calm, collected, and also bring in that emotion of the vocal melody. Let's take a look at the chords. The chords are G, D, A minor, to G, D, and a C chord. And that's it, over and over again. Now, this vocal melody is simple, has a lot of space, which is good for us guitar players. And so let's see how this is done. How do we incorporate the vocal melody? The answer is so simple, you're gonna roll your eyes and turn off the video. And the answer is, you have to learn the vocal melody first and concrete it, cure it, know it, all right? That is the answer. A lot of people think that
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be like this. So I'm probably not going to be reacting to any more Stitch Method guitar videos, because unless somebody ever has one they want me to watch and see my opinion of it, I just don't think I can really add any value to this. So yeah, if you want to solo while using the vocal melody of the song, know the frickin' melody. I'll give him a thumbs up, though, because that's right. It's true. So, yeah, I'm not going to have anything to add to this. All right. So I'm going to remove that from the watch later. The next one in the list is you are not looking at the fretboard correctly. So, this Gelvin Custom Guitars, I have watched one of his videos like this before, did a reaction to it. He even watched the initial reaction to it, the stream that was done, and he gave me his thumbs up, his approval for it. So, Gelvin, if you come back and watch this one, hello. And I'm very sorry to hear about the bad news that you posted. Hope you're doing okay. So, definitely, I don't know how the hell I deal with that, so very best of luck to you. So, as always, just to say it because I need to have these things at the beginning of the videos that get edited. This is the first time I am watching this video. This is not meant to tear. This is not meant to tear anyone down. We're just seeing, do I agree with the video? If I disagree, I'll explain why. And if I can think of anything else to add to what is being taught here, well, I'm going to say it. So, here we go, watching You Are Not Looking at the Fretboard Correctly by Gelvin Custom Guitars. And I definitely recommend watching Gelvin's stuff when it comes to like truths about the guitar industry, on like basically how they rip you off and the whole tone wood debate and whatnot. I definitely learned a lot about guitar manufacturing stuff from him. So, not to discount any of the stuff he's about to teach, but like for me, I really got a lot from his knowledge of building guitars and what happens in the guitar manufacturing world. So, definitely a smart guy. Here we go. Let's see what he has to say.
Looking at the fretboard correctly. It's at no fault of your own. It's because of the way that human beings think. And they really don't understand their instrument. Most people that play the guitar are self-taught, or they are taught by somebody that was self-taught. And you don't know what you don't know.
That's true. If nobody told you. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing to talk about right there. Many times students will tell me, oh, I should have known that, or I should be able to play this. Like, I feel like I should be able to do that. And I'm always like, why? Why do you feel like you should be able to do that? If you've never done it before, why would you be able to do it now? If it's a new thing, you know, that's all right. And when it comes to learning new, like, music theory, I've had students plenty of times they'll like apologize for not being able to get the answers correctly quickly, or they'll make mistakes in theory work that they submit. And it's like, you know, this is part of the process. This is why you hired me, to teach you what these things are. And if you could get everything correct in the beginning, you wouldn't need my help, or anyone's help for that matter. All right, continuing on.
We as human beings have a tendency to think in a linear fashion, right? So we think of things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the line in a linear fashion. Or if somebody were to say the alphabet, they'd say, okay, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, in the order that we have learned it. If you ask somebody what comes after, like the letter G, they'll probably go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. They'll say H, but they'll go through their head real fast to come up with H. When we start learning how to play the guitar, we use that same type of thinking. We know that we have 7 notes, right? We have our A through our G, and then of course we have our sharps and our flats. But we think in this way. And so if we have an open E here, and I were just to hit this to fret the 7th right here, if you have not memorized where all of the notes are, which most people have not, you would more than likely go, let me see, well, this is a G, this is an A, that's a B, right? So they're counting in order to get to the note that they're at, okay? Or what they'll do is they'll say, well, if this is an E, and if this is an E, then this has to be a D, and if this is a D, then this has to be a C, and then that has to be a B, right? But once again, they're kind of counting. They're doing this linear thinking in order to get to that point. If I were to ask you, well, what is underneath this, right? You'd more than likely do the exact same thing. You would end up saying, okay, we have our A, this is a D, that would end up having to be an E, okay? I'm going to show you that when it comes to the guitar, you don't really want to use linear thinking, because this is not tuned for linear thinking.
Well, I'm very curious what he's about to say here, because what I tell students is, look, if you know the notes or the names of your strings, then you know what the notes are. And if you can just remember that B and C are a half step apart, meaning there's no space between them. So B and C half step apart, E and F a half step apart, everything else is a whole step. Well then, yeah, you could do the linear thing that Galvin's talking about right now. And I recommend people do that at first to start helping them get acquainted with where things are until they eventually start to just remember, like, the 7th fret on the low E string is a B note, or the 7th fret on the A string is an E note. So, very curious what he's about to say. I might actually learn a new thing here. Hello, Paulo. Glad to have you on. Here we go. Let's see. What are we going to learn?
Let's look at the notes right here that we have on a normal 6 string. We have our E, we have our A, we have our D, we have our G, we have our B, we have an E, okay? Now, these two right here actually should be a C and an F. And they were tuned down a half a step, so it would be easier to make chord shapes.
Yeah, so like E to A is a 4th apart, A to D is a 4th apart, D to G is a 4th apart, G to B is a 3rd, B to E is also a 4th. So what the hell does that mean? He might explain it in a moment here, but I'm going to do it now. So when it comes to music theory, intervals come from your major scale, right? So when you play an E major scale and you go through the notes of an E major scale, and you can start this anywhere you want to. But I'm just going to start with the open E. Let's change that. So if you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 notes in the major scale, that is an A. So the fourth note of E major scale is A. That's why it's a fourth interval. It's saying that the distance from the E to the A note is a fourth interval apart. Now, if you go A, you play an A major scale, and you end on the fourth note, it's a D note. If you go D up a fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a G. Now, going the third note of a G major scale is a B. So that's a third. So G to the B string, G string to the B string is a third higher. Now, if you play the 4 notes up the B major scale, you end on E. So B to E is a fourth apart. So basically, your entire guitar is tuned in fourths, except for the G to B note. And like he said, it's tuned that way to make playing some chords easier. So it can make some scale shapes, whatnot, more confusing. I know some 6-string bass players will tune exactly like he's talking about there, just everything in fourths, just to make it easier to visualize things. But yeah, it can make things a bit confusing, that G to B string thing there. Let's continue.
And also, if you have a 7-string, that would be our B. 7 strings, 7 notes. We can see we have the A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now, if you end up looking at the order of this right here, you may recognize it. It's the circle of fifths. So if we draw a circle, and we decide to make an X like this, one this way, one this way, one this way, one this way, we can actually take this, the tuning of the guitar, for our circle of fifths. Up here is the F. And we can look at this and see that we have E, A, D, G. This would be our B, and this would be our E. But like I said, this was tuned down, so that way it'd be easier to make the chord shapes. Continuing this direction, this is either an F sharp or a G flat. These would be our flats. Okay? But once again, you see the exact same pattern, because we have our G, what's before that a D, what's before that an A, what's before that an E, what's before that a B. And as I had mentioned previously, it's easy to remember the circle of fifths, because essentially it's just the open string tunings of a guitar, of a 7-string. You just have to remember the C and the F, that those two have been tuned down. You start at the 11 o'clock, cruise this way, and then after that you start up here, cruise this way, and those are your flats. Keep in mind that we would have one flat. For this, we'd have 1 sharp, we'd have 2 sharps, we'd have 3 sharps, we'd have 4. I'm just going to times 4, times 5. Right here we'd have times 6. Okay? And then the same thing happens here. Well, if there's 1 flat here, this would have 2 flats, this would have 3 flats, that would have 4, that would have 5, that would have 6 flats. Now, why is this important? Because your guitar is tuned in the circle of fifths. If you remember this basic pattern right here, the notes are always going to be in this order. Okay? So let's go ahead and erase this here for a second. Let's come back up here to the open E, and we're going to hit that B. Did I say that was a C earlier? That's a B. Okay? So we have a B. What is the note?
He did not say it was a C. He did say it was a B before. When he was going backwards from the 12th fret down to the 10, down to the 8, I mean, he said everything right. So I don't know if anyone's said it, but no, you are all good.
Note that's underneath that. Okay? Well, it's an E. We know because it's right there. Well, what would be the note that's underneath that E? An A. What is going to be the note that's underneath that? It's a D. Because the pattern continues over and over and over again. You'll also notice a circle of fifths throughout the entire fretboard. We start up here on the E. You go E, and what is underneath an E? An A. Let's skip 2. What is that going to be? Well, what is underneath an A? It's a D. What's underneath the D? It's a G. Skip 2. What's underneath a G? C. What's underneath a C? An F. Let's skip 2. What is underneath an F? Well, we don't really want to flip it. Remember that circle of fifths? What is underneath that F? It's a B flat. What is underneath the B flat? It's an E flat. We're going to skip 2. What is this? Well, that's an A flat. What is underneath an A? A D flat.
So totally on board with what he's showing here. for anyone possibly confused about that, say the only thing to I guess the only thing to add here is you basically have to remember what the whole circle of fifths thing is, like what's a fourth apart and all that stuff. So there's still some memorization that has to happen. So like the whole linear thing at the beginning, you know, starting with your open E and then going through all the natural note names to figure out where you are is still very helpful. And then, yeah, if you can remember the whole circle of fifths or going up in fourths, because like circle of fifths, I always look at it two different ways: circle of fifths, circle of fourths. So like if you go, you know, starting with your C note, and you start with the C major scale because there's no sharps and no flats in it. So if you go, let's see, it looks the wrong way because I'm on camera here. But if you go clockwise around the circle of fifths, you're going up in increasing sharps. So C to G, G has one sharp. G to D, D has two sharps. D to A has three sharps, and so on. But if you go down 5, so like if you went backwards, let me just play it. So yeah, go up 5, 1, 3, 4, 5. That's C to G. But if you go down 5, so that's going down C, C, B, A, G, F. If you go down 5 or counterclockwise on the circle of fifths, then you get the flat notes or the keys with increasing flats. But I always look at it as go up 5 notes, circle of fifths, for the sharp keys. Go up circle of fourths for the flats. 4 for flats. Because it ends up being the same thing. And I just find it easier going up instead of down. Yeah, the circle of fifths, that's really what, as far as I've understood with the circle of fifths, that's like the easy way to figure it out. You know, when you want to know how many sharps or flats are in a specific major scale or minor key, yeah, just go through that. So yeah, starting with your C major, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, G. G has one sharp, which is F sharp. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D, key of D has 2 sharps. Key of A has 3 sharps. Key of E has 4. Key of B has 5. Key of F sharp has 6, just like Gelvin showed earlier. And if you go up 4s, key of F has 1 flat. Key of B flat has 2. E flat has 3. A flat has 4. D flat has 5. Whoops. And G flat has 6. C flat has 7 and C sharp has C flat has 7 flats, C sharp has 7 sharps. But I don't think you're really ever going to come across that in any key signature stuff. I also have never seen a key signature indicating harmonic minor or melodic minor or any exotic scales. I wonder if that does exist. I haven't seen it. I know Guitar Pro, the latest version, does not allow for that sort of thing, so I don't know. I've never seen it. So, yeah, so far all good stuff. I've added very little to this. So far I'm going to say we don't need to edit this one down. Let's go watch Gelvin's stuff. It's all good.
Let's go ahead and skip 2. What is this? That's a G flat. What is underneath that G flat? Once again, going to the circle of fifths, we're going to end up seeing that it's a B. Okay? What is underneath a B? An E. And what is underneath that? An A. So this is continuing. This is a cycle throughout the entire fretboard. So instead of thinking linear, like A, B, C, or instead of thinking like the sharps, like this, actually I should put an F and then a sharp, right? Instead of thinking linear, think in the circle of fifths, because that is how your guitar is tuned and set up to play. Don't think of it as the A, B, C, D, blah, 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 blah. Think of it as E, A, D, G, C, F, okay? And like I had mentioned before, these two right here, the B and the E, the only thing that you have to do is just move it up 2. So in other words, if I were to come up here to, like, let's just say the 5th fret, and I start cruising straight down, all of these notes right here are going to end up having no sharps and no flats. In other words, it's the exact same notes that you're going to find with the open, but this is our A minor position, right? This is where we do that. But if we end up taking this and we shoot it up here, right, where we end up bringing that up, well, what would we have? We have our A. What is under an A? A D, a G.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pause here and actually stop here, because one of the goals with these streams is to get through or watch as many things as we can, see what we can add in terms of value. Well said on all the stuff. Definitely an excellent lesson. So if anyone comes across this archive stream, go watch the original one. It is called "You Are Not Looking at the Fretboard Correctly." So yeah, so far I'd say, I mean, yeah, not so far. It's a good one, worth watching if you are unfamiliar with this stuff. So let's remove this video from the watch later. I am going to remove the next one as well because it is from Stitch. I don't think I will have anything to add to this one either. I need to be more careful with what I add to the watch later stuff. So this next one is also from Gelvin, Secrets of the Guitar Fretboard. Should we do it? Yeah, why not? Let's watch it. Well, I don't know. Maybe. Fuck it, let's do it. Let's see what he says on this guy.
To get more information,
Woo. Looks like he made this
you
the
just
same
don't
day.
know how to read it, and I'm going to help you learn how to read it. What I'm about to show you is probably going to blow your mind.
Ooh.
And if you like what you see in this video, make sure you hit subscribe, like, all the other stuff. But also, to get more information, go down to www.gelvinguitars.com and pick up my Mastering the Guitar Fretboard series, which I go over a lot of this stuff and even more. So in the last video, I had talked about the way that the guitar is tuned up and the reason it's tuned the way that it is. And I'm going to expand upon that in this video. So everybody put your thinking caps on, because you're going to need it. I had mentioned in the previous video that people have a tendency to think linear, right? They're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or just like how they read, left to right, right? They're only thinking one direction. Let's go ahead and draw 6 strings. Now, because this is going to be the low E up here, and this will be the high E. Now, because the low E is the closest to our face, we have a tendency to think top down, right? And top down is a lot like left to right. And this, once again, is the linear thinking that is sending you for a loop. When people see this, they go, oh, it's a circle of fourths. Not really, not really. It's the circle of fifths. This is not the first string. This is what is considered the first string down here, the high E. But truth be told, the first string is this guy right here, the B string. That is what you should consider the first string. And I'm going to explain why. There's going to be 2 strings that we're going to be kind of looking at and separating from everything else. And it's going to be the second one in, which is the B, and it's going to be the second one in right here, which is the A. And we are going to be calling these home bass. I bet you're already getting confused, aren't you? But don't worry, I'm going to make this easy for you. Now, what I want you to do is, instead of thinking of the strings as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I want you to think of it like this. 1, we're going to skip 1, 2, we're going to skip 1, 3. Then we're going to come back down here. We're going to say 4.
Okay, this is definitely something I have never seen before. Very curious where he's going with this.
We're going to skip 1, we're going to say 5. We're going to skip 1, we're going to say 6. Now, if we had a 7 string, that would be our 7. If we do not have a 7 string, which most people do not, this guy right here, our home bass, it's going to be a half a step down. And then that would be our 7th.
So B to D, saying, yeah, so he's got the B string. I'm just going to look at this right now until we see what he explains here. So B being 1, we're going to play it over here. then he says D string is number 2. That's a minor third apart if we're going up like this. Yes, I'm thinking linearly. But anyway, so B to D, minor third apart. And then he says D to E, which is goes up a major second. D to E is a major second. And then E to E, well, that's just the octave. So it's the same note. And then E to G, minor third. And then G to A, also major second. Tor, hello! Pete there. Is Pete there as well? Okay, so yes, as he said, you're probably confused at this point. You're right, because I have no idea where this is going.
Now, why am I saying it like this? This actually represents the pattern of a scale. Okay? In other words, if we ended up looking at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we know that these are our notes right here in the key.
Like a scale, huh? All right. Play it like a scale. Well, I did say. So B, D. No, yeah, it went B, D, E, G. No. Yeah, B, G. Okay. B, G. No, B, D. Yeah, B, D. And then E. Freaking G. And then the last one was the A. So that would be, what the heck is that? That's pentatonic. I just realized I did not put on my pinky protector. See, when people talk about repetitive strain injury, playing guitar for a long period of time, it's true. I have to wear this stuff now. My pinky is jacked. I need extra support with my tendons. Okay, so what position? That is the 4th pentatonic position right there. So if that's the 4th one, oh man, I am not a pentatonic player. No, I need to go the other way. Right. No. It'll be A, C, D, F, G. What is... Okay, so hang on a second. I'm looking like an idiot right now. This is brand new to me, but I want to try and figure out where this is going. And I suck at pentatonics. I never study them. So that would be the 4th position, which is basically the 5th mode in, if I did the full diatonic scale. So if I do it here, that's E minor pentatonic, like the, you're right, the E minor pentatonic. There we go. So this is the 4th position of the E minor pentatonic he's talking about. All right, there we go. So, where is he going with this? I don't know.
E, F, C, and then after this it would start over. A, B, C, la, 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 right? It would go down the line. This is actually tuned in an open C. Okay, so the guitar is tuned in an open C. You're going to say, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. I had mentioned in my previous video that the E and the B right here were purposely tuned down a half a step. And the reason why was so it would be easier to make chord shapes.
So in open C, the three notes that make us, well, here. Tor! If you're still on there, hey, Tor, what three notes make a C chord? Give it a minute, see if he, he's still there, he can give an answer. It's an easy theory question, though, right? Here we go. C, E, and G. Yes, those are the three notes for a C major chord. But the F. Okay. Certainly a lot. All right, let's continue on then. Where is he going with this?
This should actually end up being what is currently on the first fret, which is a C and an F. When we automatically move everything up a half step on these lower two, you're going to see that everything is a circle of fifths. So let's go ahead and I'm going to use this section over here to look at these open notes. We end up having our E, we have our A, we have our D, we have our G. This, even though it's a B, we're going to call it a C, and there's our F. Remember, this is just tuned down a half a step for functionality with the chord.
I'm assuming he's going to say something about a 7-string guitar where the lowest string on a 7-string guitar is a B, typically. Your standard tuning on a 7-string guitar is a low B. So perhaps when he's saying open C, is he talking about an open C major scale? Which actually would make the whole thing a C major 13, because every single note would be there. In fact, every single kind of 13th chord in the key of C would be present. Because when you get into inversions and all that, and voicings and all that stuff, a 13th chord has 7 notes. So, and every major scale is comprised of 7 notes. So every 13th chord is an inversion or voicing of a 13th chord of a 13th chord of a 13th chord and so on. Anyway, I never looked at it this way before. Look at that. See? We did learn something. I learned something. Look at that. Yeah, tuning the top 2 strings down a half step for functionality. Because, yeah, so many of the open chords that we play would be unplayable if we took the high E and B and moved it up a half step. All right, continuing.
Okay, and then we also end up having, if we had a 7-string, we would have a B up here, or this right here would end up being a half step down. Okay, now this is an additional half step down, and I'm trying to block the light here, guys. But when we look at this, these are all the notes that are in a C scale. When we look at number 1, it's this. Number 2 is this. Number 3 is this. Number 4 is this. Number 5 is this. Right? Number 6 is this. And of course, 7 will here, or we can just add the half step down. Well, what does that turn?
Okay, makes sense. So he numbered things to go in order of how the C major scale would be. All right.
Turn it into C, B, E, F, G, A, B. It starts showing up in this order. Now, because the B string, right, which we're going to be thinking of it as a C, but the B string, that's our home base. So we're going to be starting at C, right here. We're going to be starting at C. And if we do this, that means that C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means this is your 3rd, this is your 5th, this is your 7th, right? So when you're making your chords, they're going to say you want to use the 1, 3, 5. Well, right here, 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. And what we're doing is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, or half a step down for the 7. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think of the first top 3 strings. These guys right here, these are minors. These strings right here, these are majors. Okay? Remember home bass? Home bass is here, home bass is here, but home bass is only here for the minors, and I'll explain that here in a second. Let's look at, once again, we're going to end up looking at the open strings. Once again, making mental note that everything was tuned down a half a step for these 2 right here. So we can come over here and we're going to go E, A, D, G, C, F. The C and the F would be me fretting these two notes. If we had tuned these up a half a step, they would be open. Okay, so this is what we've got going on here with that. Now, in the key of C, right here in the key of C,
Yes, we have C major, F major, G major, so it's the 1, 4, 5 chord. D minor is the 2, E minor is the 3, A minor is the 6. So he's talking about the A string being home bass. Well, if you look at it from a minor scale perspective, then A minor would be the 1, D minor is the 4, E minor is the 5, and then C major would be the 3, F major is the 6, G major is the 7.
these are our major chords. These are our minor chords. Okay, half a step down, which would be a B, that is our diminished. So if I'm going to be doing C major, I'm going to be fretting right here, because that is the C, it's the first fret. And then I'm going to be fretting here, and then everything behind it, I'm going to bar. Okay? If I'm going to do a D, I'm going to be fretting here, I'm going to be fretting here. This plate replaces the nut right here, and then this right here will be our diminished. Let's say this time we want to know about maybe in the key of D major. Okay, remember, these are our majors. This right here are our minors. And because of that, we're going to be finding D on this string because we're doing major. If it was going to be, we were going to try to find, let's say this time we want to know about maybe in the key half a step down, which would be a B, that is our diminished. So if I'm going to be doing C major, I'm going to be fretting.
Glad you made it in, Mr. Taylor. And yes, Baron guitar. That's basically the whole point of this. Part of the point of it. But I'm not going to deny that's a big part of it, just like the fitness industry does. So why not the guitar industry? Why not music?
Fretting right here, because that is the C, it's the first fret. And then I'm going to be fretting here, and then everything behind it, I'm going to bar. Okay? If I'm going to do a D, I'm going to be fretting here, I'm going to be fretting here. This plate replaces the nut right here, and then this right here will be, because that is the C, it's the first fret. We had tuned these,
I need to pay better attention here.
that everything was tuned down a half. These we're going to be starting at C. Well, right here is I want you to think of the first 1, 3, 5. Well, right here, 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. And what we're doing is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or half a step down for the 7. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think of the first top 3 strings. These guys right here, these are minors. These strings right here, these are majors. Okay? Remember home bass? Home bass is here, home bass is here, but home bass is only here for the minors, and I'll explain that here in a second. Let's look at, once again, we're going to end up looking at the open strings. Once again, making mental note that everything was tuned down a half a step for these two right here. So we can come over here and we're going to go E, A, D, G, C, F. The C and the F would be me fretting these two notes. 1, 2, 3.
Well, we got our first troll, who is blocked now. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and read bullshit. If you don't approve of what I'm doing, leave the channel. I actually think this is pretty neat what Gelvin's teaching right here, which is pretty cool. So, I'm going to try paying better attention here instead of looking at the bullshit. And see what we can continue learning here, because I've never thought of the guitar this way. So we're definitely learning something from Gelvin. And if anyone has never heard of Gelvin and is watching this, well, I'm going to be saying, go watch more of his stuff. It's good. He's got a lot of great things.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means this is your third, this is your fifth, this is your seventh. Right? So when you're making your chords, they're going to say you want to use the 1, 3, 5. Well, right here, 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. And what we're doing is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or half a step down for the 7. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think of the first top 3 strings. These guys right here, these are minors. These strings right here, these are majors. Okay? Remember home bass? Home base is here, home base is here, but home base is only here for the minors, and I'll explain that here in a second. Let's look at, once again, we're going to end up looking at the open strings. Once again, making mental note that everything was tuned down a half a step for these two right here. So we can come over here and we're going to go E, A, D, G, C, F. The C and the F would be me fretting these two notes. If we had tuned these up a half a step, they would be open. Okay, so this is what we've got going on here with that. Now, in the key of C, right here in the key of C, these are our major chords. These are our minor chords. Okay, half a step down, which would be a B, that is our diminished. So if I'm going to be doing C major, I'm going to be fretting right here, because that is the C, it's the first fret. And then I'm going to be fretting here, and then everything behind it, I'm going to bar. Okay? If I'm going to do a D, I'm going to be fretting here, I'm going to be fretting here. This plate replaces the nut right here, and then this right here will be our diminished. Let's say this time we want to know about maybe in the key of D major. Okay, remember, these...
Okay, I see what he did there. That's pretty neat. So if you look at it like you want to know the notes of like the D major scale, or how the chords would lay out, it's like move. So with the root note being on the first fret there, if you move it to the third fret and you follow that pattern, it'd be like third fret, second, 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 like that. And then you follow how he had it I can't remember how he had it for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But basically those three notes here, so the D, G, and A, those would be your major chords, or the root note of the major chords in that scale, or that key. And then down here you'd have your B minor, E minor, and F sharp minor for the notes, the root notes of your minor major chords in the key of D. And then you go back a half step from the first one here, second fret gives you the C sharp diminished. That's neat. I've never looked at it that way before. That is pretty goddamn cool. Huh. See, we are learning stuff here. I've never saw it that way. That's pretty cool. I might use that. I might use that.
Are our majors. This right here are our minors. And because of that, we're going to be finding D on this string because we're doing major. If it was going to be, we were going to try to find D minor, we would go to the A string trying to find D, which would be on our fifth fret. That's where we would start. Okay? So let's say this is our third fret. Let's say that we want to do the key of D major. Well, where is D? We know that D is right here if we fret that. And remember that pattern that I had done earlier, right? We have to fret this one too because everything was tuned down a half a step for the sake of chord position. And then we're going to bar this up here. This would be our diminished. All of these notes right here are not only the chords of, but they're the notes of D major, okay? So we have D here. Underneath D is what? It's a G. And remember, when we're using the circle of fifths, we're thinking about what is above that note, what is below that note, right? We're not counting. We're not going, let me see, over here we got ourselves an E, we got ourselves an F, we got ourselves a G. No, what we're doing is right here it's D. What's underneath D? G. What's above a D? It's an A. Okay, so let's see. What is above a D? Is it an A? Well, right here is our G. We skip one. That would be an A. Okay, so over here we have our, starting at the bottom, we have our A. What is above an A? It is an E. What is above an E? That is a B. What is above a B? That is going to end up being a G flat. Now we have our diminished, and our diminished is going to be what? It's going to be a D flat. So, in the key of D major, these are our major chords.
Yeah, technically it's D flat. The way I was taught, though, is you got to use all 7 note names in your major scale. So if you play the 7 notes of a D major scale, the 7th note would actually be a C sharp. So it's referred to as an enharmonic when you have two notes with the 2 notes. You have 1 note but 2 names. So like, there's your C note. If you go up a half step, C sharp. Well, here's your D note. If you go down a half step, it's a D flat. So technically, naming it right would be a C sharp diminished. This way we have 1 D and 1 type of C. Because if we didn't, the way I was taught, because then you'd have 2 different kinds of Ds. You'd have a D and a D flat and no Cs. And I don't know who the hell made up the rules if you have to use all 7 note names. That's just what I was taught, and that's what I teach everybody else. So,
chords. These are our minor. This is our diminished. And this is true over the entire fretboard. So all you're doing, in the case of D, all you're doing is barring that, and then these two get pushed down. That is it. And when you want your diminished, you just raise that finger up. That's it. How easy is that? You can sit there and say, okay, well, if this is a D, this is an E. Okay, well, this right here, that's all of the notes and all of the chords in the key of E major, F major, G major.
wait a minute. I think he meant a different fret.
Over the entire fretboard. So all you're doing, in the case of D, all you're doing is barring that, and then these two get pushed down.
He's on the wrong frets. Because right here in his diagram, you see he's barring the 2nd fret, and then he's placing his 2 fingers down on the 3rd fret. Whoops. So just to clarify, anyone watching this, that middle finger he's got down, that would actually be the root note of the key. So what he's actually holding down right now would be the key of D sharp or the key of E flat major, not D major anymore. Whoopsie.
That is it. And when you want your diminished, you just raise that finger up. That's it. How easy is that? You can sit there and say, okay, well, if this is a D, this is an E. Okay, well, this right here, that's all of the notes and all of the chords in the key of E major, F major, G major. Okay, now, I was talking about the minor, right? Home base for the minor. In other words, every major key has a relative minor key, right? So this would be that relative minor. And what is that? It is a B. So B minor, if you wanted to know, for instance, all of the notes that were in the key of A minor, as well as all of the chords, well, the A was either right here or it's right here, okay? Because the major C, as well as the minor A, they're the same notes. They're the same chords.
Yep.
Real quick, let's go over circle of fifths again, because that's how this is tuned, guys. This is always going clockwise, by the way. Well, that is an E flat, and after that, it just keeps, and it's because they...
So I think he's just reviewing the whole circle of fifths there. So yeah, I need to remember to put links to these things in the description. That was cool. I've never heard of this one before. Boom. Yeah, alright, I'm going to add what we've looked at so far to the video description. I forgot to do that last week. Let's see, I need to go to my history here. And we have time for 1 or 2 more videos, actually. Let's see. Just give me the link to that. Yeah, anytime I have a troll or something like that come up, I just like, fuck it, like, get the hell out of here. I don't need to sit here and argue with someone who clearly isn't into what I'm doing. I know some people will say, oh, it's great to have all the negative stuff on your page because that's, interaction with the page and all that stuff. It's like, well, if you're fine with sifting through all the bullshit, have at it, but I don't want that crap. So yeah, anytime someone wants to have a discussion with me, fine, that's fair. we can have a nice actual discussion. But if you just want to be a dick, fuck right off. I do not have time for someone who wants to just be a fucking asshole. New guitar is working out fantastic. By the way, yes, Laudo, that's the brand name. I'm told that this specific type of guitar is being produced, multiple numbers of this kind of guitar. So definitely worth checking out. Laudo. Alright, so let's see, we're going to close that one. Remove this from the watch later. Okay, the next one on the list is chord substitution, 5 levels from beginner to pro. Now, I'm sure I'll definitely learn something on this one. As far as chord substitutions go.
Do you want to play chords?
Whoa. That starts right off, doesn't it? I don't know much about chord substitution. One thing I think there's probably going to be something involving like parallels. Maybe something like, instead of playing an A minor, do an A suspended second or an A minor 7. But I also have read once that with chord substitution, if you take something like an A minor, you can substitute it with a chord that shares similar notes. So you have the notes A, C, and E that make an A minor chord, so you could play a C major chord instead. You could also play an E minor chord instead, or a C major chord, because they share similar notes. So, as always, this is the first time watching this video. Yes, I am doing coattail writing, and I am not going to hide it. So, none of these videos are ever done to put anyone down, tear anything down, see what I agree with, see if I can add any value to it, and see if we can learn something. We definitely learned something on that last video. So, chord substitutions. I am not too familiar with them. So, let's see what we can learn, and let's see if we can take the subject matter here and do something metal with it.
Substitutions, but you're not sure.
Oh, by the way.
Start. Well, in today's lesson, I'm going to show you 5.
Sorry, the mouse was not cooperating. The name of this video is Chord Substitutions, 5 levels from beginner to pro, and the channel name is Piano with Johnny. Here we go. Wait a minute, that's the wrong one.
5 essential chord substitution techniques. We'll start with level 1, which is a beginner technique, and we'll work through progressively more challenging techniques until you can play level 5, which is the advanced technique. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, we're going to use a tune that everybody knows. This is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but it's a great tune to use because the chords are very simple, and so it really shows you what you can do with chords to make them sound more interesting. All right, so quick review on the tune, and then we'll dive into the 5 levels of chord substitutions. So Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, we're playing it in C major, right, F major, right, simple C major, F major, down to C major, and then like a G major, and then back down to C. So it's a very simple tune. We're only using 3 chords to play this tune, but there's a ton more that you can do with these chords. But before we talk about the level 1 technique, if you're enjoying this like this, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, level 1 is a beginner technique. It's called the chord family technique, and I want to show you what it sounds like, and then I'll break down exactly what I'm doing. So how am I making these chords sound more interesting? Well, the first step to playing the chord family technique is to understand what are called diatonic chords. And diatonic chords are all of the chords that belong to a key. So if you're playing a tune in the key of C major, this is the C major scale, and you build a chord on every note from the scale, these are all of the diatonic chords that belong to the key of C major. So we have C major,
D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished.
Now here's the really cool thing. Certain diatonic chords are related to one another. So if you take your C major chord, which has these 3 notes, there are 2 other chords that share.
Yeah, so this is what I've heard about before. Substituting a chord with chords that have shared notes. So apparently I've learned the idea of the beginner way of doing chord substitutions. Yeah, I could see how doing the substitution with arpeggio would be quite useful in making all kinds of stuff. All right, let's continue.
Two of the notes in the C major chord. The E minor shares these two notes, and then the A minor shares these two notes. So these chords are related to one another. Same with an F major chord. If you look at an F major, this shares two notes with an A minor, and it also shares two notes with a D minor. So if I have a C major chord in my left hand and my melody is a G, well, guess what? I can substitute this chord with an E minor because this G is in the E minor chord. Likewise, if I have a C major chord and my melody is an E, I can substitute this C major with an A minor chord because the E is shared between both chords. And so now, instead of playing Twinkle Twinkle Star like this, we can play it like this. See that little E minor that we're adding? Okay, on the F major, instead of using F major, we can use an A minor. Doesn't that sound beautiful? And then on this G melody, we could go back to an E minor. You see what we're doing? We're basically matching the melody note to one of the diatonic chords. Okay, look at the next chord. We're gonna go to a D minor here. Doesn't that sound beautiful? What if we go to an A minor here? Okay, and then maybe now we can go to our G major and then back to C. By the way, the lesson sheet music on the top left of your screen is downloadable and printable. You can also change the key of this entire lesson with the click of one button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below. Now you might be thinking,
one thing I'm wondering here is like, how the heck could we do this in a metal sense with just one guitar? Piano, he's got, one hand's playing the melody, the other hand's playing the chords. I suppose if we had like a metal melody, like perhaps, how would that work? Like if someone was playing the vocal melody for a song, as a lead on guitar, we could do something like that with chords. Trying to think of what might actually work. Like maybe do like well, now the way I'm thinking of it is like trying to take the melody and put it on like a fifth chord progression, but then it's basically like not really chord substitution at that point. What's going through my head? How the hell is it? I don't know if this part's going to get tapping. Yeah, it's definitely could do tapping as an idea. But like combining the melody with chord substitution and something. No, I don't know. Let's just continue on. Let's see if my brain thinks of anything we could do as an example to make it metal. But I'm curious how this one's going to go. So we got your C major chord up there, C7, F, A7, D minor. Whoops. There's your D7. G7, C.
thinking, Johnny, that sounds great, but I want my chords to sound a little more interesting. What's the next level? And this brings us to level 2, which is called the secondary dominant technique, and it sounds like this. So what am I doing? I'm adding these very cool chords called secondary dominant chords. And here's how they work. Let's say you're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which is in the key of C, and you're going to a G chord, okay? Well, a secondary dominant chord is a chord that you can add in front of this G chord. And the way it works is you go up 5 steps from G, 1, 2,
So yeah, the fifth interval of G is D.
2, 3, 4, 5, and you play what's called a dominant 7 chord. Okay, a dominant 7 chord is a major chord, so we have a D major, and then we add a 7th. The 7th is just a whole step below the root. Okay, so we're going to add this D7 chord in front of the G chord. And you can do this with any chord. Let's say you're going to go to an F chord, and you want to add a secondary dominant chord. You go up 5 steps from F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you play a dominant 7 chord, which is a major chord, plus a 7th, a whole step below the root. So we'll add a C7 in front of our F chord. So let's go back to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and add these chords. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify our chords, C, and then F, and then maybe here we'll go to a D minor chord.
Interesting. So, okay. See, now we're getting into like, I feel like this is jazz theory. This is stuff I have not studied. So going from one chord to the next. So he said like if you want to go from a C chord to, and let's say in this case the F. So you place that secondary dominant chord in front of it. So the fifth of F is C. So yeah, you'd have your C major, C7, F. And if you're going to go C to G, you would play the D7. Ha! Well, that's pretty neat. How would that work? Let's say I want to go from A minor to... Here, let's change this back to that now that I'm fiddling around with this idea. Let's say we want to go A minor to D minor. Well, the fifth of D is A. So if you're going to go up a fourth interval in terms of root notes here, huh. So that could, let's see, how do we, if we do this as like a metal riff, I can see the tapping definitely working here. That could definitely work. Let's see. I don't know, do you want to go? Let's try it. Let's try tapping this out. So. So we tap the notes for A minor 7 here, which would be A, C, E, and G. And then if we're going to go up to a D minor 7, we could do the A minor 7, raise the C up to a C sharp for the A dominant 7, and then go up to the D minor 7. Hang on a second, I need to bounce back and forth here. Oops. Thank you for saying tapping. I don't think I would have thought of that. But that works. Okay, that's kind of an interesting idea. But you could do all kinds of stuff with that then. I suppose you could simplify it and just do, just turn it from like a minor, like if you do a minor to minor. That could kind of work. Let's see. What if it was a fifth chord progression? How would that, how could you take that idea here though? Yeah, that wouldn't really work as a fifth chord thing. You'd need more notes. Definitely sounds better as like doing a tapped arpeggio thing or maybe even a sweep picking thing. Let's see, how could we do a sweep picking version of this? Oh man, I can't remember my shape off the top of my head. So that's an A minor 7 right there. So that would be a D minor 7. So we would need to go A minor 7 to an A dominant 7. We gotta sharp the C's. Ugh. Right, so we put the diminished shape at the beginning. It needs to be a G still. I'm screwing that up. So that could be a way of doing it too. Thank you. Oh, right. Let's continue on here.
Chord, right? That's kind of like the chord family, and then a G chord back to C, okay? So these are kind of our little chord targets that we're going to add the secondary dominant chords in front of. All right, and here we go. Let's add those secondary dominant chords. We're starting on a C chord. We're going to an F chord. Let's add a secondary dominant here. So we have C, C7, right? F major. And then we're going to go to a D minor here. What if when we play that G melody, we use a secondary dominant to the D? Well, what's the secondary dominant to D? It's an A7. You see that? So now we have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. That's pretty. And now we go to our D minor. How I wonder. Okay, we can do another secondary dominant here before our C. So we have How I wonder. D7. That sound nice? And then finally, What is. And check this out. We're actually going to a C here. Let's make the G a dominant chord as well. Okay? And now it sounds way more interesting. By the way, if you want to learn more about adding secondary dominant chords to your chord progressions, check out our course, Passing Chords and Reharmonization. We have a beginner level course and an advanced level course where you'll learn 8 different techniques to add passing chords and reharmonize your chord progressions. I'll put a link to both of those courses below. All right, you might be thinking, Johnny, that sounds great, but I want my chords to sound even more interesting, maybe even a little jazzier. And so this brings us to level 3. This is more of an intermediate level, and this is called...
Just want to play through that progression there. So C, G minor 7, C dominant 7. Might be easier if I do it like this. D minor 7, A major, or A dominant 7, D minor, A minor 7, D7, G7, C. That is a lot of dominants. Never been a big fan of dominant 7 chord sounds, unfortunately. No, it used to be just a 1, 2. Do it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, done. All right.
the 2-5-1 technique, and it sounds like this. So how does this technique work? Well, anytime you're going to a chord, like an F major chord, I can add some chords in front of that F major chord using the 2-5-1 chord progression. And here's how the 2-5-1 chord progression works.
Huh. That is interesting. All right, I can't hold it anymore. It's bathroom time for me. I will be right back. Let's see. I need to go. What is it? Here, and yes. All right. Be right back. And we are back. Boom. There we go. Okay. Let's get the headphones back on. Alright, so 251. Interesting. So 1 being the 5, or the F being the 1 chord there. There's a helicopter going by. Can you hear that? So F being the 1 chord. G is the 2. So in an F major scale, yes, the G minor or G minor 7 is the 2nd in the key of F. C7 is the 5th chord in the key of F. So if I'm going from A minor to F, we can go A minor, G minor 7, C7, F. Interesting. What if we did a different one? What if we were going to have, we're going to go E minor to G. Let me go back here. So if we're going E minor to G, this idea would be... Okay. So the 251 of G major, we'd have to think of it as, we would have an A minor 7 as the 2, the 5 is a D7, and then be that. So E minor, so that doesn't really step out of key. Let's do something more interesting than just E minor to G. What if we did E minor to A minor? Would that change? Would it have to be like that? You know what, let's just keep watching what he says. Maybe he'll address the minor thing.
If I'm going to a chord like F, before that I play the 2 chord of F. And so if you play the F major scale, the 2 chord is a G minor chord, right? And in jazz, we oftentimes add the 7th to the chord by stacking 1 more third, which comes from the F major scale. Okay, so this is a 2 chord in F, and then the 5 chord in F is a C7, and then the 1 chord is an F major. So before I go to that F chord in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, I can go 2, 5, 1 to the F. And you can do this on any chord from a tune. Like in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, we have a G chord. Well, I can do a 2, 5, 1 in front of the G by first playing the G major scale. What's the 2 chord? It's an A minor. We're going to add the 7th to it. And then what's the 5 chord in the key of G? It's a D7, all right? So 2, 5, 1 before we get to a G chord. All right, let's try it on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So the first chord is a C chord. We go to an F chord. This is a perfect opportunity for a 2, 5, 1. So here it is. Twinkle, 2, 5, 1. Isn't that cool? Now we're going to go...
Okay, so he does have the minor thing right there. So in the key of D minor, would it not be the key of D minor? Because in the key of D minor, we'd have an E minor 7 flat 5, not an E minor 7. Okay, let's see what he says.
To a D here, okay? Let's do a 2, 5, 1 to a D chord. So what's the 2 in the key of D? It's an E minor.
Key of... So if D is the root note, you automatically do it like a major scale?
We're going to add the 7th. And then what's the 5 chord in the key of D? Well, it's an A chord, and we're going to make it a 7th chord, okay? So now we have twinkle, twinkle.
So it seems like regardless of if you're going to a minor chord or a major chord, you just consider the root note of whatever chord you're going to be the root note of the major scale for the 2-5-1 progression. That's what it sounds like. That's what it looks like. Interesting. So with my going to... what the heck was I thinking? Let's do something that's not being done here. First I said E minor to G major, but then that ends up being this just stuff in key. Do something more. What if we went A minor to D minor? Well, we'd end up with that thing right there. If we went A minor to E minor, that would make things a bit more interesting. How would that sound? So we went A minor to E minor using this 2-5-1 thing. So the 2 of E would be F sharp minor. And then the 5 right here So if we did it that way, we'd have F sharp minor 7 to a C sharp dominant 7. No. Boy, am I playing that wrong. F sharp, because yeah, A minor to E minor. Be F sharp minor 7 to a B dominant 7 to E minor. Tell you, I don't really like that sound at all. I don't like that one. Maybe it's a contextual thing, like it has to be done in a certain kind of context for it to work. What if we just did triads instead of sevens? What if we went... No, that would have to be major because of the whole 2-5-1 thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess I think I understand what he's talking about, but at least going with that kind of progression there, it doesn't sound good to my ear, but the way he plays it sure sounds fine. Anyway, let's continue.
Little 2, 5, 1. And it sounds great. They're just more interesting chords that lead you to the D minor chord. How about the next phrase? We're on a D minor. How I wonder, to a G7. Well, let's think of that G as the target chord. So we can do a 2, 5, 1 here. What's the 2 for G? It's an A minor. And what's the 5 chord in the key of G? It's a D7. Okay? So now I can go, how I wonder. And now I'm targeting that G chord. What you? Back to our C. Now, I do want to mention that there's a more interesting way to play these chords. When you're actually playing jazz music, you would generally not just play, you know, these kind of chunky chords in your left hand. You would spread the notes out. These are called chord voicings, and you can learn this technique in our course, Play Lead Sheets with 7th Chords, so I'll put a link to that below. All right, you might be thinking, Johnny, this sounds great, but it's still not...
Ooh. Well, let's see, what are these chords? I don't know how... Playing that on the guitar might be very difficult. C6 add 9. Okay, well, I know that one there. C6/9. It's definitely not a metal sound. Sure, there's probably some way to make this work in a metal way. I'd probably we'd need more time than what we have right now for me to sit down and fiddle with it to really come up with something. Right now, I'm very curious, like testing my chord theory knowledge here. So we got C6/9, G minor 7. To a C. Okay, so we have a C7 with a flat 9, which we could just do right here. That's not a 9, you dope. That's a frickin' flat 5 or sharp 4. So we need... Oh, man, how would we do that here? Can I do it like this and then raise that up instead? So this way we at least have the dominant 7 and the flat 9. Missing the 5, but it's not necessary to have. So we can go here. So let's do it like this. 1, 2. That. It's probably going to sound way better on piano. Oh man, it's like I need this. I'm not used to that chord shape at all, clearly. And then an F major 13. So I don't know what all the intervals he's going to include there. I suppose he shows it right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like we watched a jazz video last week where they say they take the 3rd and the 5th interval. But the way I was taught to do it was basically we there's an F6 right there. And we could do something like, let's see. That's one way of doing it. Basically do it like this. No, like this. Or you could do it like that. You can get a lot of stuff in there. There's your root, there's your third. That's the 13. There's the third again. We could replace that with, no, that's not the third, that's the 9. That's the 5. That's the 7. So that's a lot of stuff there for an F major 13, so, which is a nice sound. E minor 11, and the A7 with a flat 9. That is not a flat 9. What's wrong with you? We want it here. There. Yeah. Do a D minor 11 like this. D dominant 13. Could do something like that. G9 sus 4. Holy moly. So that would be root, second, fourth, flat 7. There's the 5, so root, second, there's the fourth, there's the 5. Plus the flat 7. How would you do that on guitar? Because we need a G and A, G, A, we need the D, there's a G again, there's your C, and then the F could be over here. Whew. There's a G9 sus 4, G13 flat 9. Goodness. I am not going to remember all these to be able to play it. I don't think we're getting much edited out of this. I'm just... You guys are just watching me fiddle around with some jazz stuff today. And dealing with our first live troll. Fan-fucking-tastic. God, what's going to happen when I do a stream where it's nothing but birth videos? Well, I guess we'll find out, because most likely that's coming up here soon. Not next week, but I think in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I might just do nothing but birth videos, because I got a lot of those saved. Anyway, so there's a G9 sus 4, the intervals being 1, 9, 4, 5, flat 7, G13 flat 9. Okay, how would I want to do that? So there's a G7. Or do I want to play it like this? I do it like that. If we could easily add the 9 in down here. Okay, let's make that the 4. We'll make that the 9. But we can't have a B. But we can have a C. Am I missing anything? So there's our root notes. We need... I'm just going over. So A is the 9, which is there. And then the 5 is a D, which we don't have to have, but we do have it. And then the 4, the C note, done twice. And then we need the flat 7, which is the F right here. There we go. G. Yeah, G13. Okay, we do need a B. Right, because... Okay, well that makes it easier. I don't think it's suspended again. Let me go through that in order. Oh, I'm definitely doing it. We're definitely having a birth 2-hour stream. One of the, yeah, it's gonna happen. Overall, I've received pretty positive response to that stuff. For the Galvin, though, there's actually, I mean, I had like a couple people not take earlier Galvin response things so well. I mean, one guy was just saying like, oh, I don't know, it wasn't like a huge thing. He wasn't being an outright ass. It was more like defending Galvin, which I thought was kind of funny because Galvin was all about what I had to say. He was very positive about it. Oh well. But hey, that means I'm onto something. When the trolls start showing up, that means you're doing something right. How do you know you're being successful? Somebody's upset with you. Anyway. Okay, the G13 flat 9. Let's go through that again. So, let's go in order what I had held here. So, we need the root note. We do need the third. Major third, which is the B, which is right there. I'm just going for the most necessary ones. Well, flat 9. So in that case, it's not an A. We need an A flat. Which, okay, hang on. I'm going to replace the B here with that. We could do something like this. Okay, restructured it. All right, so root third 5. So there's the G major triad right there. Now, we definitely have to have the 13, which is an E, right there. Oof. I'm thinking, how am I going to get... Man, I'm going to write this one out. Bare minimum notes. We need the G for the 1. We need the B for the 3. We have to have... okay, we need the F, because that's going to be your flat 7. We have to have the A flat, because that's the flat 9. A flat is the flat 9. And then we have to have a D, which, no, not a D, we have to have an E. We have to have an E note, because that is our 13. So the 5th interval and the 11th interval are left out, but we got all the most important things there, I'd say. So what is an easy way to build this crazy ass chord? You might be able to tell this is not a chord I really go over with students. Oof. Okay, so we need a G. We need a B. So we can get the F right here, right now. Okay. There's the A flat. We can just double up the B here. And then there's your E. That's everything. So there is a G13 flat 9. Not a very pretty sounding chord. And it goes back to the C6 thing. That's a nice sounding chord though. Alright. Rather interesting stream this week.
Quite the sound that I'm after. I want to play those really rich, kind of lush sounding jazz chords. And if this describes you, then you're ready for level number 4. This is called the extension and alteration technique, and it sounds like this. So what the heck am I doing? I'm adding what are called chord extensions and chord alterations to each of my chords, and there are guidelines for which notes you can add to each.
Yeah, you can definitely see that being a more metal chord right there. I don't know where I would use that though. It's like almost not the right kind of dissonance for my ear. I could definitely see somebody wanting that one though. Like one of my favorite dissonant chords is the sus sharp 4. Quite Lydian. Love that chord.
Each type of chord. So here's a quick review. If you're playing a major chord, like a C major, you can add 3 notes to this major chord. The first note is the 2nd, and this comes from the C major scale. The next one is the 6th, and the next one is the 7th. Okay, so I can add these 3 notes to a major chord. If you play a minor chord, like a C minor, there are 3 notes you can add to this chord. The first one is the 2nd, this comes from the scale. The next one is the 4th, and the third one is a flat 7, the B flat. So these are 3 notes you can add to a minor chord. The last type of chord you'll see a lot of are dominant 7 chords. A dominant 7 chord is like a major chord with a flat 7. So if you come across like a C7 chord, you can add 2 different chord extensions. The first one is the 2nd note, and again we're using the C scale, and the 6th note. And you can add 4 different altered notes to your chord. So on a C7, you can add a flat 2, a raised 2, a raised 4, and a raised 5.
Yeah, you can come up with all kinds of messy chords when you're adding that kind of thing to dominant chords.
So let's go back to what I played earlier, and I'll explain how we're adding these chord extensions and alterations to the chords. Okay, first chord, beautiful, what's called a C6-9 chord. It's like a C major, but I'm adding the 6th and the 9th, which I called the 2 earlier. And then I'm kind of spreading the chord out like this, okay? It's a beautiful chord voicing. So we have twinkle, twinkle. This is that 2-5-1 that I taught you earlier, except we're sliding the D to make it sound a little jazzy and bluesy. Here's our C7, but I'm adding a flat 9, or you can think of it as a flat 2, okay? Next chord, beautiful F major chord. We're taking our F major, we're adding the 6th, the 7th, and the 2, or you can think of it as a 9, and we're just spreading the notes out from the chord. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that lovely? So this is our E minor chord, but we're playing it like this, okay? So it's like E minor, we're adding the 7th and the 4th, okay? Or the 11. Our little A7 here, we're adding a flat 9 to this chord. Really beautiful, that's our chord alteration. Ooh, isn't that lovely? D minor, we're adding the 7th and the 4, and then A minor 11, right? It's like an A minor, but we're adding the 7th and the 4th, or the 11th, kind of spreading the notes out. Really hip way of playing a D7 chord. We're adding the 6th, or the 13, and the 2nd, or the 9, okay? So we have, and then the very end, isn't that gorgeous? This is called a G9 sus4. It's kind of like a G7, but we're suspending the 3rd up to the 4th, and we're adding a little 9 in there to make it very colorful.
You know, I think this is a good example as to how there's some stuff you can do much more easily on the piano versus the guitar. And there's going to be some stuff that you can do on a guitar that you will never be able to do on a piano, like really chunky Paul Moody riffs and playing really, really fast single note stuff. So yeah, different instruments will absolutely yield different possibilities.
Okay, spreading the notes out, and then we resolve this. This is called a G13 with a flat 9. Okay, so we're mixing chord extensions and alterations, and we finally end on our C chord, and again, we're making this a C6-9 with the 6th and the 2, and spreading the notes out. By the way, if you want to master your chord extensions and chord alterations, you can in our piano chord extensions and chord alterations courses. I'll put a link to both of those below. All right, now I know some of you watching this are going to hear what I just played, and you're going to think, oh, that sounds really cool. But Johnny, I want to go...
All right, let's get a piece of paper ready here. Holy moly, look at some of those chord names. My God. Holy crap. Look at this. Okay, well, C6/9. Yeah, we did that already. G minor 7. There we go. A C7 with a flat 9, so we need our D flat in there. Which we could do like this, and actually, let me wait to do it. So there's a C7 flat 9. All right, F sharp minor 11 flat 5. That one may not be too bad. So that's starting with the F sharp minor 7 flat 5. We just need to add a B to it. Okay, so that one I actually do work on with students because that occurs in stuff like your either your major scale. Well, it does occur in your major scale, and some of these other weird ones occur in harmonic minor. We go over that too. All right, here is a gnarly frickin' name there. B7 sharp 11 flat 9. Holy moly. We'll see if I need to write that one out. Alright, so we'll go with a good old B7 chord. We don't need the 5, so I can easily take the 5th interval, lower it a half step, and that gives us our sharp 11. it's technically sharp 4. The flat 9 is a C. I was thinking, how can we do that here? Woo-hoo, man, oh man. Because if I go this way, I just lost my, the third interval. We need that. So I could replace the third interval here by removing the sharp 11, which was the F note. But I can put that over here. So that eliminates the 5, which is not necessary for the chord. So do I have all the important notes needed for this? So there, holy crap. All right, so we need the 1 here. The major third, which is a D note. Oh no. Major third's not a D note, it's a D sharp. Did I play that somewhere else? I can just bar. Right? Okay, hold on. I can just bar like that. It's not a very comfortable bar. Anyway. Okay. So, there's the root, there's the major third, there's the flat 7, making it a dominant chord. So there's that bass there. The flat 9 is a C note, which is right here, and the sharp 11 is an F. Boom, got it all. B7, sharp 11, flat 9. E minor 11, that's easy. Really easy. A7 flat 9, right, he did that before, which I just did, like... It's really just a... It's a E diminished 7 over an A. Right, because there's... Am I missing something? There's the root note, 5, which you don't have to have, but root 5, there's your flat 9, that's your major third, there's your flat 7. There we go, cool. D minor 11, the G7, sharp 11, flat 9. Well, we could just take the chord we did here and move way up here. I guess technically that's right. Oh my goodness. That's another way we could do that. G7, sharp 11, flat 9. Well, here's a G7. So the flat 9 is an A flat, which we could play here. The sharp 11 is the C sharp. Oh God. That sounds terribly painful. Do that there. I'm going to write this one out. Unless, wait, here's a G7. We can flat the 11 here. Add the flat 9 there. Done. Well, hopefully it's not giving you a case of vertigo. Good! That's very good. See, we're getting some... Glad we're getting some benefit from this stream here. Good. Let's see. So, G7, sharp 11, flat 9. So what I did here... So to get the sharp 11, I'm taking the 5th interval here, the D note, turning it into a C sharp. C sharp would be the proper name. And I need the flat 9, which would be, in this case, an A flat. So this chord does not occur in a major scale of any kind. Well, of course not. I'm mixing sharps and flats. So there you go. There's your root notes. The major third is a B, which is here. You need a flat 7, which is right there. Dad, come on. Whew. Man, that's a bitch. Come on. Whew. I'm not getting that note to ring out well. There. That is a mother of an effer. So yeah, root, there's the flat, or the sharp 11, there's the flat 7, there's the major third. That is your 5th interval, which I could just play open. But then, ooh. Yeah, I could just play that open, make it easier to hold the chord. And then there's the flat 9. Man, that's a whew. Not one you're going to play on guitar too often, I'd imagine. Good Lord. Alright, C major 7, easy. F major 9. Nope, I almost played the wrong chord. That would actually be... There you go, F major 9. B minor 11, flat 5. That is... that chord right there. E7, sharp 11, flat 9. That should be a lot easier because I can take advantage of the open strings. Lower that down. Or I can play... No, that would not work. That would, though. So there you go. E7, sharp 11, flat 9, A minor 11. Whew, Lord. Well, we got like 9 minutes of the stream.
Crazy with my
String
chords. I
left.
just want to add even more chords. Like, I want to add a chord on every single beat and take it really far out in these cool harmonic places. And so if this describes you, you are ready for level 5. This is definitely an advanced level, and I called it...
Let's listen to this one at regular speed.
It's the 251 series, and it sounds like this. So what the heck am I playing? Well, I'm using a technique called the 251 series, and it's basically a long string of 251 chords that eventually lead to the very last chord in the chord progression. So how does this work? Well, basically what you want to do is you want to take whatever tune you're playing and look at the very last chord. And in this case, we ended on that beautiful A minor chord. And so once you have that very last chord, what you're going to do is work your way backwards using 251 chords. So let's think of this A minor as a 1 chord. So what's the 5 chord of A?
I just wonder how much of this stuff does he have memorized versus being able to do it on the fly. Because that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. Like thinking of doing a 251 work your way backwards kind of thing. That's got to be a pre-planned thing, right? Well, if anyone actually watches all the way to the end of this 2-hour archive stream, if you know, please say something. Can you do something like that on the fly, or is it all pre-planned? I'd imagine this is pre-planned.
A minor. It's an E7. So let's write an E7 here in the sheet music just before the A minor chord. All right, what's the 2 chord in the key of A minor? Well, it's a B diminished, and we're going to add the 7th, so it's called a B minor 7 flat 5.
I agree. Probably does review it all. I mean, I would think so because this is, I'm assuming, at least somewhat scripted. I just wonder, like, can anyone actually do that sort of thing just right on the spot? Or if they would always have to have a lot of thinking prior to doing so. Because right now, like, it looks like he's showing how he built it. So that's cool.
So in the lesson sheet music, we write B minor 7 with a flat 5. And so if you continue this pattern, you end up with all of these really cool chords that lead you to your final chord, A minor. So let's play through it. We have C major. We're going to do our 2, 5, 1 to the F, but instead of going to F, we're going to do a little fake. And we're going to go to our F sharp half diminished 7, or F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And this starts our series of 2, 5, 1s. So we go 2, 5, 1 to an E minor, but now we're going to think of this as a 2. So 2, 5, 2, 5 to D minor, 2, 5. Now to C, think of it as a 2, 2, 5, and then to B, 2, 5. And we finally land on our A minor.
Holy
By the way, if you want to learn more
shit.
about using the 2-5-1 series in your chord substitutions, you can learn.
Good Lord. Okay, well, I get the whole 2-5 thing. Like minor 7, major 7, minor 7, major 7, minor 7, major 7, minor 7, major 7. Alright, so a little fake thing there though, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5. Anyway.
This in our passing chords and reharmonization advanced course at pianowithjohnny.com. I'll put a link to that below. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the lesson,
Holy shit. Man, that's whew. Boy, that's a lot. Alright, I gotta put a link to this in the video as well. Goodness. Alright. That was definitely interesting. Let's see. Give me that. I'm going to put this in the video description. Save that. Yeah, I don't see this one being a edited down thing. None of these really. Haven't really been getting great stuff to edit down these past couple streams. At least I don't think so. Huh. The bird stuff, that worked out very well before, because, you know, trying out the different licks and whatnot. Well, let's see. Check out the other things that are be coming up here. If anyone's got any questions, things they'd like to talk about, now is a great time to leave it in the comments. See what we can get to here, because it's about time for me to wrap things up. But I'll definitely answer some questions if anyone's got them. So how to use the Phrygian mode to make chords and chord progressions. We might be able to do something decent with that. I could see that being making a medley thing that way. Minor 1, major major second, major third, minor diminished, major, minor, minor. Like curious what Victor Wooten's thing of music theory is simple is going to be. Are they all tuned differently? Not all of them. Like, so this one here, that's standard. Hang on, let me switch back to that. So yeah, this one's tuned standard. My Monson in the corner there, I tuned it down a half step to try and play some along with a video like last month or sometime last month. I think it was last month. It was an Yngwie lick. It ended up being another thing not worth editing down. That acoustic guitar, that's standard. The red Schecter right there, that is a 7-string guitar, that's standard. The bass, standard. That guy right there, Schecter baritone, just standard B tuning. This Ovation acoustic, that is a half step down. And then this Schecter, the first tremolo system I've had in like close to 20 years. That is also standard. I haven't played that one in a while. But that's got my Sustainiac on it. So for the most part, the electric guitars are just standard tuning. One of them happens to be baritone, but you know, that's standard tuning for a baritone. Another guitar that I don't touch like almost ever because I don't like the neck, and I think the pickups in there, they don't sustain things worth a damn. Like, I always have to use a compressor to get the most out of it. That, I don't know what it's tuned to right now. It's just sitting in the closet. Kind of sad. Okay, we got a lot of birth ones coming up here. So yeah, we'll probably watch the Victor Wooten Music Theory is Simple next time. That certainly seems like a thing. Yeah, all right, the Stitch Method, like the new Holy Grail of Music. The Stitch Method one, I'm just going to take out. There's two. Holy shit. I put in a 2-hour masterclass of cage solos, riffs, chords. Yeah, I don't feel like I can add anything to his stuff. Stitch Method, good stuff. Like, I have nothing to add to it. The birth stuff, I feel like I can add things to it, or at least try out what he's teaching, because we play very similar things. Now here's another one. Music Theory is Simple when it's presented like this. So very curious, well, what is he presenting? Got another video down here, Picking Endurance for More Gains. I know a thing or two about that, so very curious what he'll have to say there. Jason Stallworth's 5 thrash metal guitar riffs to practice every day. So I'm going to just try out what the riffs are, see if I can play them. And then this one shape for all guitar arpeggios. See, those are the kinds of titles I read them. I'm just like, right, all of them, every single one, how? I'm not a fan of those things. How to shred on guitar. It's not that hard. That's a curious title right there. Gonna check out another Alfred Potter video eventually. See how many of these 20 metal guitar licks I can actually play. Apparently I already watched this. Looks like I already did. It says more guitar players should come clean about this. Their Achilles heel. So I'm curious what that's going to be. Is it mine too? Yeah, exactly. One shape is only one shape. So how the hell can one shape play everything? I mean, it can't. One shape. I mean, I could see a shape being a good foundation that will lead you to other things. That would make sense. This one we're definitely going to have to watch hopefully soon here. I mean, I'll usually just like going through one video after the next, but this one, why fast players troll you about building speed. I don't troll people about building speed. So I give people the answers they don't like hearing, like Greg Doucette says. Tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. most likely you're not going to get as fast as you want to be. You're going to have to practice very efficiently. You're going to have to push yourself mentally and physically beyond what you're currently capable of, unless you can already play fast. Countless hours, weeks, months, and years to reach your top potential. Yes, we got some good stuff coming up here. Another one from Burns says, how to build guitar speed fast. Just practice this. I'll tell you, I hate those videos where the title is like, blah, 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 just do this. And then, you know, stuff like that. Like, do this and this happened. Or like, don't do these 5 things. You should always do these 10 things. You know, because they gotta get you to click like, oh, well, what is that thing? I want to know what that thing is. It's like, ugh. It's obnoxious. I get why people do it, though. Gotta get them views. Alright. I think it's about time for me to sign off here. Yeah. Only 5 likes on this one so far. And Baron Guitar. Hidden from the channel. I wonder if he kept typing shit or saying stuff afterwards. I bet you he was. I wonder if I'm going to find an email from him when I get back to work. Teaching on Sunday and I opened up my inbox. Should I post his email? No. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to ignore him. Alright. Well, thank you everyone who came in, checked out the stream. Appreciate the participation. Probably not streaming next week as I need to record the next Patreon lesson. But hopefully 2 or 3 weeks we will stream again. The Baron of Trolls, there you go. Alright, this stream is done.